Nobody was supposed to lose like this. On live television, in full view, and this quickly. Caitlin Clark's appearance on NBA on NBC was meant to be light. A simple crossover moment. A feel-good gesture before the real game took over. That was the expectation. What no one planned for was a shift. No dramatic intro, no build-up, just a casual mention of her name. Almost an afterthought. And that's what made it work. The instant the camera cut to her, the atmosphere changed. Not excitement. Not hype. Something heavier. Something uneasy. Like a room realizing too late it had misjudged who was sitting at the table. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't grateful. She wasn't asking for permission. She was ready. Calm, precise, and confident. She broke down plays before the replays rolled. Spotted defensive rotations the analysts missed. And explained decisions without forcing authority. Just pure command. And viewers felt it immediately. Social media didn't respond with jokes or memes. It responded with confusion. Why does she sound like a veteran? How is a rookie this comfortable? Why isn't she on television more often? Those weren't compliments. Those were cracks. And once they appeared, there was no way to hide them.
And help with the NBA. The NBA has been helping the WNBA since its existence. Why not? And it's fine that Caitlin didn't want to do her first one in the NBA. I understand that. But, what Elle Duncan was doing was trying to make it seem like it was a gender, a sex war. Like, get out of here, man. It's not about that. And we know who is the most popular player right now in men's and women's basketball is Caitlin Clark. So it only makes sense to have Caitlin Clark over during events where you need help with the viewership, fam. Now, it was also announced that the president of NBC Sports ended up saying that he might want Caitlin Clark back more than that March 29th appearance that they already announced. Let's take a look at this, man. According to NBC Sports President Rick Cordella, Clark's performance checked every box the network hoped for. The appearance was not treated as a one-off moment, but rather as a glimpse into what her future in sports media could look like. While Clark remains focused on her playing career, NBC clearly views her as a natural fit in front of the camera. And
because questions turn into attention, and attention turns into power, people inside league offices started checking the numbers. First casually, then repeatedly, and finally with real concern. The early metrics didn't make sense. Viewership wasn't just strong, it was historic. Segments featuring her held audiences far longer than projected. Clips of her analysis spread well beyond the usual basketball circles. Fans who hadn't watched a full game in years were suddenly tuning in just to hear what she'd say next. And this was a part that rattled everyone. These weren't just her supporters. These were new eyes, the exact audience the league had been chasing for years. Except now, they weren't watching the league anymore. They were watching her. That's when the second crack appeared.
What does bother me is some of the people I deeply respect, their basketball credentials, their basketball history, their commitment to basketball and women's basketball, I think have really not covered themselves in glory with some of this commentary. And I'm going to read you a quote, Colin, if I may, from, again, this person might know more about about women's basketball than any person who's ever lived, and that's Gino Auriemma. Gino Auriemma was on with my pal Dan Patrick a couple months ago when the Fever were struggling. And this was the quote: "This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality in the league, and she's a rookie. This rookie class isn't even one of the best classes in the last 10 years. She's just not built for the physicality of this league. She's not quick enough to get away from the physicality." End quote. Gino, just say you're a UConn guy and you thought this was going to be Paige, and instead it's...
For months, negotiations have been happening quietly. CBA talks, media rights, control of exposure, debates over how much visibility any single player should have, and how much leverage a name should be allowed to carry. Insiders say the tone of those discussions wasn't confidence, it was caution. There was hesitation about giving one player too much spotlight, fear that it could destabilize the balance, fear that a single star might grow larger than the structure designed to manage everyone equally. That fear became ironic overnight because on NBC there was no structure, no leash, no pacing, no waiting your turn, just performance. And performance doesn't care about negotiations. As the week unfolded, something strange happened. League-linked accounts began bleeding engagement. Not dramatically, but quietly. The kind of slow drop that accelerates when no one addresses it. Meanwhile, clips of Caitlin Clark kept moving faster than anyone could control. Other projects started to look exposed. Games meant to be showcases struggled to hold attention. Numbers that once seemed acceptable suddenly looked tiny when placed beside NBC's audience. The comparison was brutal. One screen pulling millions, another struggling to fill seats. That's when the panic turned inward, because panic doesn't shout. Panic whispers. Closed-door meetings. Late-night calls. Language shifting from strategy to damage control. And then the documents leaked.
Milestone for NBA on NBC Sports. Lakers-Knicks. 4.5 million viewers on NBC plus Telemundo. 5 million peak audience. Most watched regular season Sunday night NBA game since 2002, excludes Christmas Day. Sunday night NBA games. Now, a Sunday night NBA, is that ABC included, or the ABC games Saturday night games from back in the day? Let me know in the comment section below. I believe there were some ABC Sunday night games, if I remember correctly. Most watched regular season Sunday game since 2018, all Sunday windows. Most watched game of the season across all networks, excludes Tip-Off and Christmas Day. Thunder Nuggets average 2.9 million viewers, NBC plus Telemundo. Sunday night basketball, 2-game average, 3.7 million viewers. Let's get into what the executives over there at NBC had to say. NBC Sports leadership weighs in. Rick Cordella spoke positively about Clark's debut, noting that she...
Not all the documents needed to be public. Enough surface to show hesitation. Enough to reveal fear of leverage. Enough to prove just how badly the moment had been misread. Fans didn't need context. They filled in the blanks themselves. The story became simple. They didn't believe in her. That's when old comments resurfaced. Things said months earlier, sometimes casually, sometimes dismissively. Statements that once felt normal suddenly felt personal. Not because Caitlin Clark responded, because she didn't. She stayed silent. And silence in moments like this is devastating. While she said nothing, the numbers kept speaking. Every appearance outside the league structure pulled more attention. Every NBC clip widened the gap. Every quiet league broadcast felt like confirmation of what fans already believed. They followed the star, not the system. And inside leadership circles, the realization hit hard. Control had slipped.
We're going to get into that very shortly. Caitlin Clark, her NBC, the numbers for that game have finally been released. The executives over there already speaking very highly of her. Is there a potential position in the future? Are they going to be expanding her role? More appearances to come? We're going to be talking about that as well. Let's get straight into it. Like the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and subscribe to the channel. That would mean so much to me. 21,490 people. They're doing backflips. Oh gosh, you got Yahoo doing backflips, ESPN doing backflips, Fox doing backflips, Front Office Sports doing backflips. All of them said, you know what? We've ignored Unrivaled all season long. Finally, they give us something good to talk about. And they all just publish it. Oh, 21,000, record breaking. Indeed. All-time record for regular season pro women's basketball game, if you want to call it that. Most attended event ever in Xfinity Mobile Arena history. You knew people wanted to experience this. Whether it was up close and personal or from afar watching on their TV. This is can't miss stuff, folks. Unrivaled put a lot of marketing dollars behind this. Not only to get people to show up.
But it didn't happen through rebellion or protest. It happened through relevance. Reports suggest the conversations changed. Suddenly, flexibility appeared. Old positions softened. Ideas once dismissed as unrealistic were quietly pulled back onto the table. And that's where the timing became humiliating, because from the outside it didn't look like strategy. It looked like begging. Fans saw it. Media felt it. Players whispered about it. The same voices that once preached patience were now scrambling, and it was too late. Caitlin Clark didn't need a new deal. She already had something more powerful, an audience that followed her wherever she went. And she never once acted like she knew it. She stayed humble, praised others, deflected credit, and somehow made everything else look smaller by comparison. On one side was a player rising above the moment. On the other were institutions shrinking under pressure. That's when people finally understood what had happened. She didn't break records to make a point. She broke them because she was ready when opportunity appeared. And in doing so, she broke something else. The illusion that the system decides or becomes undeniable. Because once the audience decides, negotiations matter less. Once attention moves, it doesn't come back easily. And once panic shows at the top, trust disappears. By the end of the week, one sentence was floating everywhere.
Okay, and then free WNBA League Pass. Man, that's tough. That is tough, man. They can't even watch. They watching like us. That's crazy work. But one thing I did like a long time ago that they announced was the two new developmental player roster spots. Now, it's a kick to it because I think they only get to play 8 games or something like that. I'll take it, because 12 players, man, I mean, come on, fam. They need more players than that. But they have 14 to the roster now, and I think each player can play 8 games in the league. But yeah, man, I could be wrong. I just felt like it was something interesting about that, though. But yeah, if they could play 8 games, I'll take it. It's working in the right direction of adding more players to that roster. That's the main thing I want. That and referees, man. All this other stuff, y'all work that out, but referees and more players to that roster. That's what I want, man. But nonetheless, this is everything that's really going on with the CBA negotiation, man. So I'll keep my eyes out for it, but I just didn't feel like this was something I wanted to talk about. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about Caitlin Clark, record-breaking viewership, and then also, how do you feel about the CBA? Do you like it? Do you love it? You think it's fair? Do you hate it? Let me know.
She never clapped back. The numbers did it for her. And that sentence hurt more than any interview ever could because it was true. She didn't fight. She didn't complain. She didn't demand. She just showed up and won. That's why this moment still feels unfinished. Because it wasn't an ending. It was a shift. A shift in who holds power. A shift in who the audience listens to. A shift that exposed how fragile control really is. That NBC night won't be remembered as a debut, but as a warning. A warning that humility plus opportunity beats control every time. And the most uncomfortable truth of all, everyone saw it coming. They just didn't think it would happen this fast, this publicly, or with someone who never even raised her voice.